Be seated. According to the scheduled program, Samsara Nirvana, the short text that we have that I will read, and then we'll have some discussions on this. And the first, of course, is we have paying homage to the masters, and then the way it's composed, and then after that there's an outline. Introduction between the next of Samsara and Nirvana, which are little profound teachings related to the Mahamudra. Then after that comes the Samsara, describing how sensation is the water in the Samsara. And after that, when that finishes, then how to achieve Nirvana or how to free from Samsara. First is Samsara and Nirvana, two sides of the same hand, the title. And Namo Guru is in Sanskrit paying homage to the Guru teachers. And then I bow down to the Lamas or the great teachers of unequaled kindness, who has great kindness, whose compassionate hand pluck the migratory sentient beings from their wandering throughout limitless samsara and set them in the land of enlightened bliss, means free from all the suffering. So that's something usually you say when you go to school, college, universities, the lecturers, the teachers are very important. Who give you wisdom, understanding, all the knowledges that you want to learn. Particularly here, the great masters who understood the real nature of the samsara, and then they have such great wisdom to the followers, practitioners. They give you wisdom how to free from samsara and achieve complete enlightenment, which is very, very precious. That's what's called unequaled. Unequaled of many other teachers. Because other teachers will teach you, give you great wisdoms, but not teach you how to free from samsara. Means how to free from all types of suffering. And here we're discussing how to free from the samsara, which is something like unprecedented in the West. Even though we have a lot of Dharma studies coming, but still we talk about the Buddha enlightenment, but have not so much good idea how to free from samsara. There's a lot of discussions about like Mahamudra, Dzogchen, Bodhicitta, and so forth, but have not defined the demarcation between samsara and nirvana. So these great teachers from Buddha until now, The next one is all the happiness and suffering of Samsara and Nirvana arises from the appearance, emptiness, non-dual natures. This is the emptiness, which is a non-dual, is the basis of the arising, the Samsara and Nirvana. See, when one have recognized the nature of the emptiness, then the Nirvana arises. When we are confused the nature of the emptiness, the Samsara is arised. So says to refresh my recollection of the Dharma in this regarding to this real nature for myself and that of others as well, I have written these words relying on the congruous teachings. It's not something I wrote by my own invention, but this is a rely on the teachings of the Buddha and all the great lineage masters. And now next is, as mentioned, is actual text starts. First is a general introduction of the Samsara and Nirvana. So, even though all these phenomena, dharmas, so it's here in Sanskrit, dharma. Dharma has many different meanings. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, as the Dharma that we study, practice, which are principal cause to free from samsara, to that which we take refuge in, Dharma. Here, this Dharma means all phenomena, the objects of the knowledge, is called Dharma, so it's called phenomena. So, these phenomena, Dharmas, are naturally pure in their own nature. They're pure. Means Samsara and Nirvana, their nature is completely pure. In other words, they are unfabricated, uncontrived natures. So because of that, free of arising, free of abiding, free of ceasing, is within in the non-duality state. That's the real nature. Then the teacher is the Buddha, skilled in means, who has great skill, who is the nature of wisdom and completion. So taught all the dharmas and all of these teachings, explain step by step, so that we may realize authentically this reality nature, so that how things are function in their own nature, not in a fabricated state, not in a duality state. So all the teachings that Buddha taught is the very purpose, is all the practitioners to realize their own nature in an unfabricated, so that we can free from samsara and achieve enlightenment. Okay. Then as samsara and nirvana are actually of the same, and then there's the mode of abiding. And as such, there is not the smallest distinction between them in samsara, nirvana, equivalence. What is here, what is saying is the nature of nirvana and the nature of samsara. There's no distinction. It's very important. When you realize the nature of the samsara itself, is not exist anywhere. Realizing that nature is called nirvana. So look at, that's what's called reality nature. Mode of abiding, saying mode of abiding means uncreated nature. These words I'm Actually, you have heard a lot from when you study like Dzogchen, Rinpa, or Mahamudra, like nature of the space, nature of like the ocean, all those. So they're all natural. Nature of space is nobody created. It is as it is. Likewise, nature of the samsara. It's just a matter of our realization. So he says, it's in a very short introduction, just saying that in the equalness nature of the samsara and nirvana has no any difference. So first you have this some idea, understanding, and you can understand later when you go through further, you can understand. Now he is saying, then what is samsara? What is nirvana? See, samsara is mind with a conception. We conceive, in the duality state, basically saying. In the duality state, the mind is the conception. All the mental activities, thoughts. Nirvana, non-conceptual, freedom from the action and act, non-duality. That's nirvana. See. So, because of this, samsara and nirvana are two sides of same hand. It's just a matter of realization. It's a matter of where your mind is. Whether your mind is in the non-conceptual state, all pervading, or your mind is confused in the conceptual state. The nature is no difference. So it says that samsara and nirvana are the two sides of same hand. Mind as it is. Mind as it is, self-arisen, unchanging, and spontaneous. That's the mind as it is. And now, because of this, it is saying that all sentient beings has the Buddha nature. So all the sentient beings who wander the three planes, means the three worlds, the desire world, the home world and homeless world. In these three worlds, plans of samsara, wrapped tightly in the myriad, various types of mental afflictions, adventitious, afflictive emotions. All the mental delusions were just were completely within that state of the mental afflictions. Even though we have these things, so every sentient being possesses the luminous and unfabricated Buddha nature. Here Buddha nature means the seed of the enlightenment. So for example, like a seed in the husk, like gold in the mud. See, inside the husk, like barley, wheat, see, there's a grand, pure seed is there. With the husk, you cannot eat. But when you take out of the husk, the skin, then you can eat it deliciously. All the precious gold is under the muck, means under this dirty swamp, mud. No matter the gold stays there 100 years, the gold cannot stand by the mud. As soon as you pick up the gold from the mud, it's still pure, as it is. Likewise, every sentient being has the Buddha nature. When we are fully diluted within these mental afflictions, that's called samsara. outside somewhere else, within in the mind. As soon as when you reveal that mind, it's called non-conceptual state. It's nirvana. So this, what it helps us is that then we should recognize I have Buddha nature. I have the seed of enlightenment. If I study, practice Dharma, I can achieve enlightenment. I can attain the nirvana. So build confidence by yourself. Not looking outside somewhere. We have within in. Wherever you are, there, the nirvana is there. And then next one is confusion is samsara's aspects, its characteristics, unceasing suffering. So samsara is a state of the confusion. So all what we perceive, all this what we perceive is all artificial, fabrication. So because of being a state of the confusion, so its characteristic is the suffering. Nirvana is confusion purified and awakened. Nirvana is that very confusion is purified, dispelled, and the inner Buddha nature is fully awakened. So because of that, our suffering has no established basis. So there's no basis of the suffering. That's what's called suffering. These are very important point as Dharma practitioners. Now here, say, what is samsaric confusion? Where comes all this? There are 7 points within this. So it's very important we pay attention. What are those 7 points that in which we wander in the samsara? So that's very important point. See. Like when you receive Mahamudra Dzogchen, you feel maybe I'm enlightened. But then when all the confusion comes back, you say, what happened? I'm back to samsara. I have no idea. So if you pay attention here, these 7 points, what are those causes of samsara? To give you really good picture. So here I said, innate Dhamma Dhatu, the basis of confusion. So here we have the confusion. What's the basis of confusion? It's the innate Dhamma Dhatu, which means the emptiness. Here, just we said here, no? Dhamma is pure by its own nature. So what you're saying is that all dhammas, now it says all dhamma means all phenomena, have the characteristics of space, means all phenomena, their nature is empty. That's their nature. We are not making empty. The space means space is emptiness, pervading. So space, beyond any limiting existence and non-existence, elaboration is free from all elaboration. At the same time, that's the being, that's the nature. Yet, so I say, at the same time, the various Dharma instances, clouds of horror and held, obscured, confused, expands, the same. All the manifestations manifest from within the emptiness. Like seriously, like look at this, just in the outside the space, the planets, the galaxies, the stars, it's all manifest from the space. They dissolve into the space. All the waves of the ocean manifest from the ocean, dissolve into the ocean. Likewise, in our mind, all the thoughts, conceptions manifest from the mind, dissolve into the mind. Now, what is samsara? How we're confused, this duality. It's a cloud of holder and held, see. It's object and subject. Then we kind of bewildered within that, confused, you see, obscure, confused, the expanse within that. Not realizing how their nature itself is. So the Dhamma Dhatu, emptiness, is the basis of our confusion. Then if you ask, what's the cause of confusion? He has said, wavering of fundamental non-knowing, marikpa, the cause of confusion. Not knowing, the ignorance, saying ignorance is the cause. The great ignorance is the cause of confusion. Failing to recognize the ignorance, the innate wisdom among this area of habitual conceptual thought. See, we are, due to ignorance, we fail to recognize our innate nature, conceptual thought. Then our tangled mass of afflictive emotions. Then, because of the great ignorance is there, fail to recognize, then all the other mental afflictions manifest. So we're tangled in the mess of afflictive emotions. Continues to wander in the samsara, life after life, day after day, without achieving a substantial peace and happiness. Now here, a little more descriptions on this, in relation to the ignorance and the rest all mental afflictions, or how we wander in the samsaras, here said. So Buddha, Nagarjuna, and Jitasuman all taught it is the body that cycles through samsara. Our body is the one which cycles in the samsara. It's now body alone. It's not the body alone. He is saying our propensity of karma, afflictions and sufferings. Three. See. First, mental afflictions create the karma, the cause. Because of cause and suffering, these three. These three, cycles through the samsara in dependence upon the body, depending on the body. Because we have a body, then the mental hour, due to ignorance, so holding I, self. Then all the mental other afflictions give rise, attachment, aversion, so forth. Then we create karma with the body, speech, mind together. And then we suffer in the samsara. So this three combination is not just only one. Without the body, there's no basis of suffering. So conjunction with the body and the relation with this, the mental affliction or the cause, which create the karma and the suffering. So now you see, if I say a little more, these are five, they function together. So all come together. It's interdependent, interconnected. So within this is the body. The body enjoys the five sensorial objects because the body in our desire world is there. So now look at this, our body is the source, basis of our suffering, on depending on all these other conditions. First we are born in the world. Because the body, then we grow old, we get sick, we die, because the body. See? In the six realms also you see, all the six realms are designated not by the mind, but by the body. In the hell realm, hungry force, animal, human being, demigod, God realms, you see. Now, because of our body, you see, we need a house. Then we need a good house. Because of the body, we need a car, television, to see things, or the music to hear, sound. Because of the body, we need food, clothes. Look at your closet, how many clothes you have, and how many shoes you have. So to just see this carefully, and how much we work hard to create all these things in whole life to make this body something special, and how much we're attached to this body or hate. How much we sacrifice for the body. Make sense? This is very important. We don't realize how much we make importance on this. So this is some just a few things. But you can now from this you can think more. You can understand a little more further, deeper, how I go through for this body. Okay, very good. Now next is here describing some disadvantages of the mental afflicting emotions. You see. Since we're studying Dharma, especially when practicing, it's very important to have some understanding that how these negative emotions gives us suffering. Some people don't like to see these things. It's all negative. I don't like this idea, you know. But we as a Dharma practitioner, we like to purify those. In order to purify, why we should purify? And so it describes a little bit here. Here's the countless types of mental afflictions. If you put together, abbreviate it: desire, attachment, aversion, hatred, and ignorance. And then on above that, pride, jealousy, and all the rest, there are like 84,000 types of mental afflictions, are the creator of our samsaric existence. Who created samsara? Why we're confused? Why we're suffering? It's because of these. So here says some of their negative works, means disadvantages, is in the suffering and unhappiness. In the samsara we're suffering because of this. mortal thought, making untoward both this life and the next life. The mental afflictions create the suffering of becoming, first becoming, create karma, then birth, then aging, and sickness, death, so on, and the rest. They are the one who corrupt our happiness and virtue, they destroy our virtue, obstruct our liberation, and discourage and exhaust us, cause us to squander our leisure and endowment, and lead us to the lower realms. See here, say, lower realms, no? Just look and see. Even the whole world, everybody becomes your enemy and create obstacle, gives you all the suffering. But they can do only for this life. If they're so powerful, they may destroy this life, but they cannot throw us in the lower realm. These mental afflictions, see, not only destroy this life's peace and happiness, joy, and then they throw us in the heaven, in the hungry course, you see. So that, our mental afflictions are the real enemy. Always they have an enemy. Outside people, sometimes they become their friend. Sometimes they become your enemy. Because always changing. Not always enemy, but our mental afflictions. As long as they are there, they are our enemy. But we don't recognize this. That's what's called confusion. We are confused. Without realizing our enemies within us, constantly giving us suffering, trouble, still we are like their servant. They tell you what to do, and you just give. Say, oh yes, I will do this. Yes, I will do that. They order you, go there, do this, do that, until you are fully exhausted and we are aged. And all our friends become our enemy. We become enemy, not because of their enemy, because of our mental afflictions. This duality of mind. Let's look at these. So these are the ones they are purified. Now you can see, it's the Dharma. It's the only way we can get help. There's no any other things we can get help to purify these mental afflictions. So as you see here, we say, the afflictions cause. Yes, it says, the afflictions wake up and stabilize the dormant propensity for grasping as real ignorance, pervade our observation and reinforce each other, and so continue without interruption. The afflictions cause prosperity, decline in both existence and peace. Existence in Samsara, peace in Nirvana, and are object of criticism for sublime being. For all these reasons, it is clear that there is immeasurable fault in this collection of mental affliction. Just look at this. Just take a deep breath and see if it is true or not. Yes. Now let's look at this. You see here, this last part here. Because the afflictions have no sickness and death, Samsara will be without beginning or end, until concurrent shamatha vipassana cut them off at the root. See, now this mental afflictions is what I was talking about. Duality, say, we get older. Every year we get older and older. We get sick. Finally we die. These mental afflictions, are they getting older? Are they getting sick? See, look at this. This is very important to see. We physically get old, but these mental afflictions are so fresh. And we physically get sick, and they're so fresh. Look at this, see. Even physically we're old, they're because they're so fresh, they give us a lot of suffering. When we're physically sick, they are still fresh, and then more suffering give us. It makes sense? Look at this, very important. Look at it in our heart. Now first look at see, as yesterday I mentioned, other day I mentioned briefly. Is there anybody who told you these things? They need to be purified. Except from the Dharma. I think very rare will teach you how to get rid of these mental afflictions. Instead, they give you more aid, help, support to make you bigger mental afflictions. See? Now also when we practice Dharma, it's not enough just chanting some mantras. It's not enough just saying some prayers. You need to really counteract how to reduce these mental afflictions, how to minimize their power, and eventually how to uproot them. See, this is something very crucial. Those who we are interested in Dharma want to study, practice. See. First of all, look at how much suffering we get from these, like strong attachment, depression. Sometimes you feel desperate. Sometimes people suicide. So, what should I do? So Dharma, look at how precious it is. That's why Dharma is up to date. It's nothing to do with culture, belief system. Dharma, look at, you see, it's it's nothing to do what you believe or what you don't believe. Dharma is we should see practically, realistically, how to approach, to counteract the suffering, the cause of suffering. So that you see, this is other than I mentioned here. The three trainings. The training of the moral ethics, the training of the meditative concentration, and the training of the boost to awareness. So here what it says, it says, until concurrent shamatha vipassana. Shamatha is not just shamatha, regular just shamatha or vipassana. Sometimes it's vipassana, it's a feeling of the sensation, like those. It's not that. It's more than that. Deeper meaning here than usually what you talk about. So one-pointed, equipoise absorption, and then supported by the special critical insight. due to this truth, then you see directly the nature of the mental afflictions. What it means, the non-existent nature of that mental afflictions. Because it is just a contrived, it's just fabricated. You are direct, pursuing to the critical insight based on this equipoise. You get to see it, unfabricated nature, the non-existent nature of that. So when you see this non-existent nature of the mental afflictions, then they are powerless. Finally, then they have no place to exist. That kind of critical, opportunity we get through the Dharma study and practice. See, that's why Dharma is so precious. Cannot replace by any. See, there's no magic. There's no any somebody power to give you that. We individually make our own decision, make effort. There's nothing to expect. Spectacle approach. So, Buddha will not give you that empowerment, so I will give you this empowerment, now you are enlightened. This is all method, and we take advantage. Makes sense? This is a very important point here. It's very small, but there's some very important points are here. Number 3, if you ask when we are confused, that no beginning, the time frame of confusion. Self-expressivity arises unceasingly from the all-basis equalness, Dhamma Dhatu. This is patterned by the confusion of fundamental non-knowing ignorance and ingrained as a pernicious grasping as real. So these, the Dhamma Dhatu, all net by its own nature, pure nature, and the manifestation. There's no separation. But we, due to ignorance, we have not realized that, and we're ingrained as a pernicious grasping as real. Until the cloud of conceptual thought profuses since beginningless time, in the free of arising as ceasing sky or mind as it is, are scattered by the wind of wisdom, we will continue to experience our own self-made suffering. So we have been coming from beginningless time up until now, until we purify them, we still will continue. Number 4, if you ask, what's the antidote of confusion? So the self-fixation. The self-fixation is the entity of the confusion. The self-awareness, when the self-awareness unrecognized, grasped as a self. Self-appearance, from within self-awareness, self-appearance in the manifestations. Misunderstood, grasped as object, so subject and object. Without realizing they are the nature of both are in the state of the emptiness. Or how emotionally afflicted are we sentient beings. trapped in the wheel of samsara by this dualism, holding unclean to be clean, impermanent to be permanent, suffering to be happiness, and selfless to possess selfness is a false card. These four perverted mindset anchor us in the artificial and temporary cyclic existence that is samsara. So self, grasping, self-fixation, create all this and we are wandering in the samsara. Now 5. In what way is it confused? How we are confused? Now here saying, when mind as it is, unfabricated mind, the pure mind, is not realized, which is said to be free of elaboration, free from all elaboration, means is infinite. There's no any kind of fixated true point. It's freedom. So that's it. There is a conceptual model of outer and inner container and content. Means outer wall, inner sentient beings. The container of the universe, the content of the sentient beings. All confusion of attachment, aversion, which you like attachment, you don't like aversion. Order and health, subject and object, arises from the fixation on this self. Plus, I identifies I. Then there's an other, and attached to I, myself, and aversion to others. That's how we are confused in the samsara. Very good. Now number 6, the result of being thus confused. Now what kind of result is there when we are confused in samsara? Even though I explained a little bit. The afflictions are both cause and condition. Means we have basic, like say, ignorance. That's the ignorance, aversion, attachment. They are the cause. We have that. And then when they become more obvious, becomes a condition. Condition I dislike. It becomes a condition I like, attachment. See? So they play both cause and condition. So you got to investigate, contemplate yourself. This. See? So because of this, for the arising of all karma, then we create all different types of karma. From that karma manifest the 6 realms of samsara. Otherwise, if you ask, who created the 6 realms of samsara? It's none. It's our own mental manifestation, creation. Look at it in our own life as a human being, we notice when the mind is so deep, the afflictions so strong, makes there's no space, torture you. It's like hell. I feel like in the hell realm that people say that, because of our mental state. And then sometimes you see, you feel like Holy Ghost. Sometimes you feel stupid like animal. Sometimes you are so jealous with others. Jealousy is so strong. Occasionally you feel so good. Oh, life is beautiful. It's God right. So you see, the human realm, we create all these 6 realms because of the degree of the mental afflictions. That's what saying. So the state, the samsara, states oppressed by the 3 sufferings. The suffering of suffering, suffering of change, and the condition of suffering. So thus, the variegated means various, not different colors. Variegated wheel of becoming does not come from nothing. These all various manifestations comes from nothing or without cause. So without cause and condition. But arises from the confusion wheel of one's own mind. And so it is the object to be realized by the wheel of wisdom. See, this wheel of confusion. So if you ask, who can destroy them? So only the wheel of wisdom. Means this not just regular wisdom, ordinary wisdom. The wisdom of the realization of emptiness. When you realize the wheel of confusion, the nature is emptiness. So that emptiness is the great wisdom. That's how we can free from suffering. So samsara. So some of the time, from beginner's time through today, we have enjoyed the glory of the gods. Some of the time, we have experienced the blazing fires of hell. But these experiences of happiness and suffering are no more than a dream to us now. Even this life you get, sometimes you have enjoyed with your friends, family. Such a beautiful, you feel so comfortable. There's so much comfort you get from this, like in a garden. Sometimes you fight each other, quarrel each other. You divorce, and you feel haram. But now look at everything's just a dream. Nothing is in your hand. Samsara is at this through the confusion. So these are very important to see precisely. All manner of attractive things are possible. So there are a lot of things can be possible. There's a lot of possibility in the samsara. Because of this modern science and technologies, you look at the internet, it's amazing to see. If you carefully look at just from distance, how these things can happen. It's amazing. In your small smartphone, whole world is there. You see? It's because of the interdependence nature. Because of the nature of the emptiness. Manifests constantly. So I said, anything is possible, but it's in trying to obtain happiness from them. It's like trying to quench our thirst with the mirage river. Understand this point? Can you quench your thirst by drinking mirage river? Mirage River? You are so thirsty, there's a running river, Mirage River. You try to go there and drink, and can you quench your thirsty from that? So no. So all this modern science technologies, there's such great possibilities, wonderful things, amazing things you can see. But without Dharma, if you try to achieve all your happiness, maybe it's not possible. Or maybe possible. You have to investigate yourself. Okay. Now we're wanting happiness in the samsara. Everybody. We're wanting happiness. We experience only suffering. And we will not find release from this abysmal suffering until we have abandoned our karma and afflictions. We each must do our own investigation into this. So this is a suggestion to investigate yourself if it is true or not. Because Buddha said, all what I taught, says all the monks and scholars, I didn't teach just to tell of faith, but I taught you just follow through investigation. Then, after investigation, you have to practice. Investigation itself, that much is not enough. So this says, so we look at our own life. Where we're wanting happiness, we chase suffering. Where we're wanting to free from suffering, we destroy our cause of peace and happiness. Look at this. So now here's the last verse saying, when we attain unsurpassable enlightenment, the complete enlightenment, we will find the natural confusion to be none other than wisdom. The ignorance, the confusion, which are the rules, cause of samsara, suffering. So as soon as when we have all-pervading wisdom, these are nothing but wisdom. Wisdom. And all that would remain of suffering would be its name. As soon as when you realize the nature of this confusion is wisdom, then what we call suffering is just a name. So this is the way to annihilate confusion. We cannot annihilate, destroy confusion by with anger, hatred, also those things, fighting. Instead, just relax. Bring your mind in the right place. Look at it thoroughly. Instead of becoming foreign to you. Instead they are alien to you. That's the way you are real belong to. Primordially, then that's the time set. That's the time, that's the place where total happiness, peace. Now number 7. If you ask, what kind of example can you give us about confusion? So the example of this confusion, now it is willing to sleep and dream. So this is the example. You sleep then dreaming is the confusion. Sleep and dream. We are burned by fire, carried away by floods, and the light means enjoying like a palace, beautiful place, like that. We either experience happiness in the dream, in a palace, with a banquet, or wandering in a beautiful place. You have such a great joy, happiness. And suffering, when you are bound by fire, carried by the flood in the dream, there's a lot of anxiety, suffering. So that it's just some of this. Or another, this one, wrap ourselves in a protected cocoon. You know cocoon?
Kas te teate, mis asi on kokon?
Where this cocoon is coming from? No? Where?
These small worms of silk.
The cocoon, where is it? The cocoon is, no? From?
Just the body is produced.
From the body?
Yeah.
Is it from the body?
No.
The cocoon is produced from the mouth. As lava becomes the cocoon. And then you are trapped within that. No space to move. See? And people keep the caterpillar, the bugs, use the cocoon as the silk. You know? So silk, you know? So this is a good example where in the cocoon of the self-grasping, ourself is nobody created but by ourselves. Like a cocoon is created by its own lava and trapped and becomes one's own enemy. You know? So like they said, hope and fear involved with ignorance, grasping as real, and attachment, aversion that produces our state of samsaric confusion. We think just very carefully, you know. All these Dharma instances, means all manifestations of phenomena, are in fact reflections of our own habitual tendencies and are illusory, like a bubble or dew drop. Is our habit of our attachment. We are so habituated to what we are doing. It's all just habit. It's just manifestation. They are nothing but illusory nature. As we say, like a bubble. The water or the running river produces a bubble from the water. Dissolve into the water. Or a dew drop in the grass in the morning, the dew. So fragile. Everything's very artificial. When you look at the dews, you see water, crystal water on the drop of on the blade of the grass. But when it drops on the ground, nothing. The moon reflects on water has no nature of moon, but depends as it is on causes and conditions. Appears as if by magic. The moon's reflection in the water. Very clear, vivid. But there's no essence of moon. So all the samsara looks very attractive, amusing, amazing. But at the end of the day, Dharma or not. Why I should practice Dharma? How I should practice Dharma? This will give you real good reason. Is Dharma is just a belief system? It's just a one religion? Or it is something describing the reality nature of the whole world in the Samsara where we are. Very good, we are doing so well. So now, this morning we have studied about the confusion, how we are confused. So if you study more, go through this, you'll get better understanding. Read more, contemplate. Both are very necessary. Read, contemplate. Then this afternoon and tomorrow, we will go through how to dispel the confusion, how to free from something. This will give us a complete path towards the light. So tomorrow, when we finish session, you will be all enlightened. Now, if you have any some questions, just what?
Yeah, I have some questions. So the first is about in Dharmadhatu, or as a basis of confusion.
That's right.
Yeah, so what do you mean by, we know that Dharmadhatu, this is emptiness, this is absolute, the ultimate nature of
Yes.
mind and so on. And then innate, is it meant as
Same.
just
Same.
same, yeah, so it means it is, but it has its potentiality and therefore it is called the basis of confusion.
That's right.
Because having this potentiality to appear in material world.
Yes. Because of we are confused from the Dharma Dhatu.
Yeah, so because manifestation has become
Emptiness.
out of it,
Yeah,
of emptiness.
emptiness.
Yes.
So we can go back to it.
And then dissolve
Dissolve
everything.
all confusion.
How to do that?
Yes,
How to do that?
yes, we will do this afternoon tomorrow.
And please, another question is about behind Samsara and Nirvana. Because you are talking now about Samsara and Nirvana as two parts of one hand.
That's right.
Yes, and Nirvana being something the absolute enlightened mind, but there is a term behind Samsara and Nirvana in the text. So what behind Samsara and Nirvana? I have read many times
Where?
behind in different texts, Buddhist texts. Behind Samsara and Nirvana, so it means beyond or beyond there, so it means not in Samsara, not
That may be because not abiding.
non-abidance.
Yeah, not abidance
Yeah,
is the neither samsara nor
Yeah.
nirvana.
yeah, and so
So
what
that's
does
the
it
behind.
what does it mean then? Not Samsara, not Nirvana.
That's the complete enlightenment.
That is what we need.
That's right, exactly.
So then another question. Then Nirvana, this is just another level.
Yeah, the nirvana arhat,
Okay.
the arhat, the arhat nirvana.
This is beyond so it's
Yeah.
not good. I think
Arhat,
you're right.
yeah, arhat nirvana is one side,
But maybe there is.
and the samsara is the other side. So the non-abiding is none of those.
Is there any beyond of beyond Samsara and Nirvana?
Beyond samsara and nirvana is non-duality. Yes.
More than that.
So there's when you say nirvana, samsara is duality. So non-duality is none of this.
So Nirvana is not enlightenment.
Oh.
Nirvana is not enlightenment. It's just dualistic.
Nirvana, one nirvana is the partial nirvana, should say. Partial nirvana. The partial nirvana is duality. Because it's partial. So what we're talking about is non-partial nirvana.
also one question. It's about the faith, the importance of faith, or like also this blind faith in Buddhism. Is there any importance at all?
Just coming.
Just coming forward.
Yes.
Okay.
You make that one dedication prayer. Pastor, please take a deep breath. And then this morning, what you have understood a little bit, those dedicate high qualities, wisdom, some understandings. And I share this not just for myself, for all other sentient beings.
Yeah.
I declare this for the enlightenment of Buddhahood.
Taya